For years, I lived under the illusion that my marriage was built on trust, loyalty, and a love that could weather any storm. I wasn't naive. I knew no relationship was perfect, but I believed in the bond Lenora and I had built over the last 7 years, until one evening shattered everything. That Friday, I came home exhausted but content. The familiar scent of our home greeted me as I loosened my tie, eager to unwind. But the moment I stepped inside, I knew something was off. Lenora sat on the couch, legs crossed, swirling a glass of wine. There was no warmth in her eyes, no sign of the woman who used to welcome me with a soft smile after a long day. Instead, there was something calculated, something cold. "Hey," I greeted, trying to shake off the unease. "What's up?" She patted the seat beside her. "Sit." I hesitated but obeyed, my heart already beating faster. I could sense something was coming, something I wasn't going to like. Lenora took a slow sip of her wine, then exhaled as if preparing to deliver a well-rehearsed speech. "I want to spend the weekend with another man." The words landed like a sledgehammer. My breath caught, my vision blurred for a second. I laughed, a dry, humorless sound, because surely this was a joke, but she wasn't smiling. "What?" My voice cracked. "I've been thinking about this for a while," she continued, as if we were discussing weekend dinner plans. "I need to experience something new, something exciting." I felt my stomach churn. "Are you serious right now?" She sighed, placing the wine glass on the table. "Look, Eldon, I love you, but I don't want to go through life wondering what I might have missed. It's just one weekend, no strings attached, then we move on." The way she spoke, so indifferent, so emotionless, made me sick. My wife, the woman I had devoted years of my life to, was asking for permission to betray me. Worse, she expected me to just sit at home and wait for her. For the first time in my life, I felt completely powerless. But that feeling wouldn't last, because by the time she came back, she wouldn't recognize the life she had so carelessly thrown away. That night, I barely slept. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Lenora's words over and over. "I need to experience something new," she had said it so effortlessly, as if our years together were nothing more than an old pair of shoes she was eager to toss aside. And then the worst realization hit me. She had planned this. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment confession. She had made arrangements, booked a hotel, probably messaged the man she was going to be with. She had already decided. I was just an afterthought. By the time the sun rose, my grief had turned into something darker. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was livid. Lenora packed her bags that morning like she was heading on a vacation. There was no hesitation, no guilt. She even kissed my cheek before walking out. "You'll see," she said lightly. "This will be good for both of us." She climbed into the Uber, disappearing down the street, and at that moment, I made my decision. Lenora had made her choice. Now I was making mine. First, I called a moving company. "Everything in the master bedroom," I told them, "except for the bed. Get rid of it all." Then I called a locksmith. "New locks, every door. Change the codes." By noon, our bedroom was unrecognizable. Every trace of her was erased. Her clothes, her books, her perfume, gone. I poured myself a drink, staring at the empty room. This was just the beginning. I wasn't going to sit at home and grieve. No, I was going to flip the script. She wanted to explore? Fine. By the time she returned, I'd make sure she had nothing left to come back to. I never considered myself a vengeful man, but Lenora had unlocked something inside me. That evening, I downloaded a dating app. Her name was Odette, dark hair, piercing green eyes, and a confidence that radiated through the screen. We exchanged a few messages before I invited her over. When I opened the door that night, she smirked. "I like a man who knows what he wants." I stepped aside, letting her in. Let the games begin. By Sunday, the house no longer felt like a place of betrayal. It felt like a declaration of independence. And at exactly 6:07 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Lenora." I let it ring. Then again. I finally answered, my voice calm. "Back already?" She hesitated. I just got home." "Eldon, why isn't my key working?" I swirled the whiskey in my glass. "That's strange. Maybe because it's not your home anymore." Silence. Then, a frantic rattling at the door. "Eldon, open the damn door." I took my time, savoring the moment. When I finally pulled it open, she stood there, suitcase in hand, her face pale. She stepped inside, eyes scanning the house. Then she saw Odette. Her expression crumbled. "Who the hell is she?" I smirked. Something new. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes darted around, noticing the missing furniture, the new decor. This isn't funny," she whispered. "Where's my stuff?" "Gone." "What do you mean gone?" "I mean, I had it moved. New bedroom, new locks, new life." Her lip trembled. "This isn't how this was supposed to go." I laughed. "Oh, how was it supposed to go, Lenora? You thought you could cheat and come home like nothing happened?" Her eyes burned with unshed tears. "You replaced me?" "Wasn't that the whole point?" I asked, tilting my head. "You wanted to explore your options. So I did too." Her hands clenched into fists. "You don't just replace a marriage, Eldon." I let out a dry laugh. "That's exactly what you did." She staggered back as if I'd struck her. The moment was perfect. And it was only the beginning. Lenora stood there, her grip tightening on the handle of her suitcase. Her knuckles turned white as she tried to process what was happening. The woman who had walked out of my life so carelessly now stood in the doorway, staring at me as if I had betrayed her. The irony was almost laughable. "This isn't happening," she murmured under her breath, shaking her head as though sheer denial could change the reality she had stepped into. "Eldon, please tell me this is a joke. Where's my stuff? My clothes, my jewelry, my—" I crossed my arms, watching her like a hawk circling its prey. "Gone." She blinked rapidly. "Gone where? Does it matter?" I tilted my head. "You left. I assumed you didn't need them anymore." Her breath hitched. "But I was coming back." I let out a low chuckle, shaking my head. "Coming back? As if this was some weekend getaway? Like you were just testing the waters before returning to the husband who was supposed to wait for you?" My voice dropped, colder than ice. "You don't get to play house anymore, Lenora. You don't get to walk in here and act like this is still your home." She swallowed hard, her throat bobbing as she tried to compose herself. Her gaze flickered toward Odette, who was standing at the foot of the staircase, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with mild amusement. Lenora's face twisted in anger. "And her? Who the hell is she?" Odette let out a quiet chuckle, stepping forward lazily. "Me?" she said, placing a delicate hand on her hip. "Oh, honey, I'm just someone who doesn't make the mistake of abandoning a good man." Lenora's nostrils flared. "You think you can just walk in and take my place?" Odette smirked. "Sweetheart, you gave up your place the second you packed that bag." Lenora turned back to me, her eyes pleading now. "Eldon, I made a mistake." I let the silence hang between us for a long, torturous moment. Then I took a step forward, looking down at her, my voice quiet but deadly. "No, Lenora, your mistake wasn't just leaving. Your mistake was believing I would always be here waiting for you like some pathetic, lovesick fool." She recoiled as if I had struck her. "But you... What?" I cut her off sharply. "You thought you could go sleep with another man, have your fun, and then come back to me? Tell me, Lenora, was he worth it? Was he everything you fantasized about?" She shook her head violently. "I didn't. I couldn't." I raised an eyebrow. "You couldn't what? Cheat?" She hesitated, looking at me with wide eyes, and I saw it. The last desperate attempt to manipulate me. "I didn't go through with it," she whispered, as if that absolved her of everything. "I couldn't. When I got there, it felt wrong. I left before anything happened, Eldon. That has to count for something." I let out a slow, controlled breath, then laughed, an empty, hollow sound. "You expect me to believe that? You think it makes a difference? The moment you decided I wasn't enough, that was the moment you cheated. The moment you planned it, the moment you booked the hotel, the moment you packed that damn bag, you had already betrayed me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but for the first time in 7 years, I didn't care. I wasn't hers to manipulate anymore. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back, out of her reach. Her lips trembled. "Eldon," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please, we can fix this." I shook my head slowly. "No, Lenora. You don't fix something you shattered on purpose." She stood there, frozen, as the weight of my words sank in. Her eyes darted back to Odette, her gaze burning with resentment. "You're really just replacing me? Like that?" Odette let out an amused laugh. "You make it sound like it was difficult." Lenora's face twisted with fury, but she wasn't angry at Odette. She was angry at herself, because for the first time, she was realizing that she had lost. She had underestimated me, and it was too late to take it back. Lenora stood in the doorway, her breath coming in shallow gasps as she tried to process everything. I could see the thoughts racing in her head, the desperate need to regain control, to manipulate the situation back into her favor. But this time, she had no power here. "You don't mean this," she whispered. I tilted my head. don't I?" Her eyes darted around, searching for anything, any way to turn the tide. Her hands clenched into fists. "You're just doing this to punish me. You don't actually care about this. She gestured at Odette, her voice dripping with venom. "This fling." Odette sighed dramatically. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm not a fling. I'm the upgrade." Lenora snapped her head toward me, her face turning red with fury. "You can't just throw away 7 years, Eldon." I exhaled slowly. "You threw it away, Lenora. I'm just making sure you don't get to pick up the pieces." A storm of emotions flickered across her face. Anger, regret, desperation, and then finally, fear. She was afraid. Afraid because for the first time, she wasn't in control. Afraid because she had gambled everything on the belief that I would always be there waiting for her. And now she was the one standing outside, locked out of the life she had taken for granted. She let out a choked breath. "I don't have anywhere else to go." I leaned against the door frame, crossing my arms. "Not my problem." Her lips parted in disbelief. You can't just leave me like this." I smirked. "Funny. That's exactly what you did to me." Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I wasn't moved. Not anymore. She had made her bed, now she had to lie in it. Lenora's tears were nothing more than an afterthought to me now. She stood there, trembling in the doorway, the realization of her own actions crashing down on her like a tidal wave. Her breath hitched as her gaze darted between me and Odette, as if trying to convince herself this was just a nightmare she'd wake up from. But this was reality. She'd thrown me away, and now I was making damn sure she knew what that felt like. "Eldon," she pleaded again, her voice breaking. "I know I made a mistake, but can't we talk? Can we try?" "Talk?" I echoed, amusement laced in my voice. "Like how you sat me down on our couch and talked about spending the weekend with another man? Like how you casually admitted you wanted to cheat and expected me to just accept it?" She flinched as if my words had physically struck her. "It wasn't like that." I arched an eyebrow. "Then what was it like, Lenora?" Her lips parted, but no words came, because she knew I was right. She had walked out believing I would still be waiting in the same place she left me. She had thought I was weak, predictable, easy to control. She was wrong. "Please," she whispered, taking a small, hesitant step forward. "I didn't go through with it. Doesn't that mean anything?" I exhaled, running a hand through my hair, then met her gaze with a look so steady, so unwavering, that she knew this wasn't an argument she could win. "You think the betrayal started when you were in that hotel room?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. "No, Lenora. It started the moment you decided I wasn't enough. It started when you looked at me, the man who gave you everything, and still chose to chase something else." Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I felt nothing. I wasn't hers anymore. Her hands trembled as she reached out again. "Eldon, please, I took a deliberate step back. "You don't get to touch me anymore," I said coldly. She gasped as if my words had physically crushed her. Odette let out a soft chuckle from behind me. "Oh, honey," she said, amusement dancing in her voice. "You really thought he'd take you back after this? That he'd just forget?" Lenora's face twisted in rage. "You're nothing but a replacement," Odette smirked. "And yet I'm the one in his home, while you're standing outside with your suitcase." Lenora's breathing picked up, panic settling in her features. "You can't do this to me," she snapped, turning back to me with wide, desperate eyes. "I gave you 7 years of my life." I let out a slow breath, then looked her dead in the eyes. "And I gave you my loyalty," I said. "You threw it away." She let out a strangled sob. "I was lost. I made a mistake, but I didn't mean to hurt you, Eldon." I tilted my head. "You didn't mean to? So what? You thought I'd just be okay with it? That I'd sit at home and wait for you?" I thought we were strong enough to handle it," she whispered. I laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "No, Lenora. You thought I was weak enough to accept it." And for the first time since she walked out that door, I saw something break inside her, the realization, the understanding that she had truly lost. She had gambled away a man who would have given her the world, and now she was left with nothing. The streetlights flickered as Lenora stood there, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The reality of the situation was sinking in, layer by layer, crushing her with every passing second. She wiped at her tears aggressively, as if she could erase the shame that clung to her. "You don't mean this," she whispered. "You're just angry, hurt. I get it, but we can work through this." I exhaled, shaking my head. "Lenora, stop. Just stop." "But no," I cut her off sharply. You don't get to walk away, taste a different life, and then decide I was the right choice all along. You don't get to come back to me now that you realize the grass wasn't greener. She shook her head rapidly, desperation creeping into her voice. That's not what this is. I gave her a look so pointed, so sharp that it silenced her instantly. Isn't it? I challenged. She was suffocating under the weight of her own actions now, and I could see it. The panic, the regret, the disbelief that her own decisions had led her here. Her breath hitched as she tried a different approach. I'll do anything, Eldon, anything. Just tell me what you need, and I'll do it. I'll cut him off completely. I'll never see him again. I'll delete every message, every number. I'll prove to you that I love you, that I choose you. Odette clicked her tongue, shaking her head. It's so cute when they beg. I stared at Lenora for a long moment, then I smirked. Then leave, I said. Her eyes widened. What? You said you'd do anything, I said smoothly, crossing my arms. So leave, walk away, because that's the only thing I need from you now. The air between us felt thick, suffocating. Lenora let out a shaky breath. Eldon, I love you. I didn't blink. No, Lenora, you love the idea of me. You love the stability I gave you. You love knowing that no matter what, I'd always be here. Her lips parted, her breath stuttering. But that man, I said, stepping closer, lowering my voice. The man who waited for you, who forgave, who took every hit and kept loving you anyway. I leaned in, my lips barely a whisper away from her ear. He doesn't exist anymore. She shuddered, and I stepped back, watching her completely unravel. Lenora shook her head violently, her chest rising and falling with sharp, panicked breaths. She was desperate now, clawing at anything that might give her a chance. Eldon, please. I took another step back. This conversation is over, I said simply. You can't just end us like this. I exhaled. You ended us the second you decided I wasn't enough. Her fingers trembled around the suitcase handle, her entire body rigid with tension. She wasn't used to this. She wasn't used to losing. She had spent years believing she had me wrapped around her finger, that no matter what she did, I'd always be there. But now she was standing on the outside, and I was the one looking down at her. Her lips trembled, but she found no more words, so I gave her one last look. Goodbye, Lenora. And then I closed the door. The click echoed through the silence, final and absolute. Lenora was gone, and for the first time in 7 years, I felt free. As soon as the door clicked shut, I felt it, the weight lifting from my chest. Lenora was gone. The woman who had once been my everything had now become nothing more than a lesson. I turned back toward the living room, where Odette was watching me with an amused smirk, twirling the rim of her wine glass between her fingers. You did good, she said. I exhaled, running a hand through my hair. Yeah. You think she'll leave quietly? I let out a hollow laugh. Not a chance in hell. Because Lenora wasn't just going to accept this. She wasn't the type to walk away without a fight. No. She would try to claw her way back in. She would try to win, try to twist things in her favor. But she didn't know it yet. She had already lost. I didn't have to wait long for Lenora to make her next move. The next morning, I woke up to a series of messages from mutual friends. Lenora was playing the victim. She had spun the story beautifully, telling everyone that I had kicked her out, that I had betrayed her, that I had cheated first, and that her weekend away was simply her trying to fix her broken marriage. It was laughable, really. She had crafted the perfect tale to paint me as the villain, but she had underestimated me because I had proof. I made my way to work as usual, though my phone never stopped buzzing, friends, family, people asking what had really happened. And then I got a text from her. Lenora, you're ruining my life. I stared at my screen, smirking. Me? No, Lenora. You did that yourself. She called. I let it ring. Then I sent the screenshots, the exact text where she had asked for the hall pass, the ones where she told me she needed to explore something new. I sent them to every single person who had texted me about her version of events. It didn't take long. Within an hour, her lies unraveled. Her carefully crafted sob story collapsed under the weight of the truth. I didn't hear from her for the rest of the day, but I knew better than to think she was done. That evening, as I poured myself a drink and settled onto the couch, my phone buzzed again. An unknown number. I answered out of curiosity, and a familiar voice filled my ear. You think you're so clever, she hissed. I smirked. Good to hear from you too, Lenora. You ruined my reputation, she snapped. Do you have any idea what people are saying about me? That you're a cheater, I mused, sipping my drink. A pause, then a sharp inhale. This isn't over, Eldon. I chuckled. Oh, but it is. She let out a bitter laugh. You think you've won? You think you've punished me? I haven't even started yet. I arched an eyebrow. What are you going to do, Lenora? Cry harder? You'll see, she whispered. You're going to regret this. Then the line went dead. Odette, who had been listening from across the room, sighed. Well, that was dramatic, I shrugged. She's desperate, and desperate people always made mistakes. Lenora's next move was expected. The next morning, I received an email from a lawyer. She was suing for half of everything. It was laughable. Lenora had never been the breadwinner in our relationship. I had paid the bills. I had supported her when she wanted to quit her job and find herself. Now she wanted half? I walked into my lawyer's office with a smirk. Destroy her, I said simply, and he did. Within a week, the lawsuit was thrown out. Lenora had no legal ground. She walked away with nothing. Days passed. Then one evening, she showed up on my doorstep. She looked different, disheveled, eyes swollen from crying. I didn't say a word as I opened the door, watching her shift on her feet. Eldon, she whispered. Please. I exhaled. What do you want, Lenora? She let out a shaky breath. I have nowhere else to go. A beat of silence. Then I smirked. Not my problem. Her lips parted, eyes widening with disbelief. You don't mean that. I tilted my head. Don't I? Tears slipped down her cheeks. Please. I miss you. I made a mistake. You sure did, I said flatly. She sniffled. We were supposed to be forever. I crossed my arms. Yeah, and forever ended when you packed your bags. She let out a soft, broken sob. I stepped forward, lowering my voice. You wanted to explore, I said. So go explore. Her breath hitched. I gave her one last look. Goodbye, Lenora. Then I closed the door, and this time, she didn't knock again. For the first time in years, I felt free. No more wondering if I was enough. No more waiting for someone who didn't deserve me. Odette sat beside me that night, sipping her wine. You okay? She asked. I smirked. Better than ever, she grinned. Good, because she's not coming back this time. And she didn't. Weeks passed. Life moved on, and I thrived. Lenora, she tried, of course. Texts, calls, desperate attempts to rekindle something that had turned to ash. I never answered. She had been my past, and I was only looking forward. One final message. Lenora, I get it now. I lost you. I wish I had realized sooner. I'm sorry. I read it, then deleted it. No response, no closure, because she didn't deserve closure. The past no longer haunted me. Odette leaned against the counter one evening, watching me with a knowing smirk. So, she said, what happens now? I exhaled, taking in the peace that had settled in my life. Now? I smiled, for the first time in years. Now I live, and I meant it, because Lenora had been nothing more than a lesson, and I had learned.